Generating traffic and sales can be a challenge for online merchants. But selling on the Walmart Marketplace puts your products in front of millions of customers who shop on Walmart.com. And right now, sellers who join Walmart Marketplace can save up to 50% on referral and fulfillment fees for the first 90 days. So get started today. Head over to marketplace.walmart.com/savings. That's marketplace.walmart.com/savings.
Welcome to E-Commerce Conversations, a podcast by Practical E-Commerce.
What is going on, Internet? Eric Van Holtz back again with another E-Commerce Conversations. Hope all is going well on the other side of the Internet. On the other side of the table from me is Mr. Dennis.
Hello, hello.
What's up, Dennis?
Not too much, just chilling. I brought you a gift.
Yeah.
I brought Eric a Lambo.
Yeah, well, so for those who don't know, Dennis sold LiveRecover, which we recorded an episode on in the past. And since he sold it, he came in and he brought me a Lamborghini.
Yes, and it also fits in Eric's hand.
Yes. But this is actually pretty cool. It's Mr. Beast and MSCHF. It does like kind of like viral
like a viral product studio.
Yeah, so it's you bought it online and you had a chance of getting a Hot Wheels size one or kind of like a
desktop.
1/18th,
desktop.
And then one's like a remote control car.
Kid, like a kid could sit in the other side.
Okay, the kid could sit in that, and then a real one.
One real one.
Yeah.
And I don't know who got that one yet.
Yeah. So from a marketing perspective, I think like that kind of stuff is just brilliant because you didn't buy one.
I bought 8.
You bought 8 of them.
I wanted to get all my friends Lambos for Christmas.
Yeah.
As a joke, and that's what I did.
Yeah. Well, I think like, from a marketing perspective, like so much is just buy ads on Facebook, have some generic content, have some generic photographs. They're not all generic, but like
right. There's a blueprint and a formula that everyone kind of follows.
Yeah, and it's boring.
Don't take risks.
Yeah,
just follow the blueprint. Yeah.
So
Mischief doesn't do that.
Yeah, Mischief is the complete opposite. Do you think like a normal brand could do something like this and see success, or does it have to be like built? Because it's almost like Supreme too. I think they do that kind of stuff.
I think Mischief is like probably the best one, and I wouldn't be surprised. I'm pretty sure that they will do consulting for brands to execute campaigns on brands' behalf. Yeah. Because so many brands are like, wow, how did you do this? We haven't hired anybody this creative in however many years. And they're like, who's Mischief? Why are we suing you from Nike for having blood and shoes with Lil Nas X? Or why did you make like a squeaky chicken smoking bong? It's like just random things. I think that if you're talented enough to do that in-house, do it. But if you're not, I mean, I would kind of look at what they're doing as like a, experiment.
Yeah. Along this, not exactly the same lines. I've also had Marco on the show, and he has Drop Party.
Yep.
And they do cool collaborations with people of influence. So I've got one of his Tobias Van Schneider, Mars.
Mars. That's right.
The Mars sweatshirt. So, like, don't hold yourself in a box, like it's getting hard to be competitive in that ad buying space. And like, you've got to have content that just separates yourself.
Yeah. If you can, this route is just purely organic. I don't think I've ever seen Mischief running ads.
Yeah.
They have something right now that's called the $1 Million Puzzle. It's, if you put together a puzzle at the end, I think it's like there's some QR code that's scannable or some way to authenticate it. And one of the puzzles you get $1 million for putting together. Everyone else just finishes a puzzle.
Yeah. They're like, good job.
Yeah. Kind of like this. Scavenger hunts through buying products.
Oh man, that's brilliant. Anyways, so you sold LiveRecover. You bought 8 Lambos.
Yeah, $25 each.
Yeah, living the dream. So what was that like? That was speaking of dream, that was your boyhood dream, right?
Yeah, I think like at the beginning, if you're getting into tech or being an entrepreneur, a big goal is to maybe one day sell your company for some dream amount, whether that's $1 million or 10 million or 100 million, whatever. And after a couple of failures and one previous smaller exit last year, 2021, but actually even at the end of 2020, we went through a process of trying to sell LiveRecover through, we weren't selling it. It wasn't listed on a marketplace or a broker was trying to buy it or anything. There was a lot of inbound interest just because we were one of the few SMS apps that had gotten to the scale that we had gotten to without raising any money. And all of our competitors had raised a lot of money and were valued at 40x revenue, right? And so at that point, it's like, wow, we don't want to raise money. It's against sort of our, belief at the beginning. We would have done that 3 years ago. But from Q3 of 2020 until the summer of 2021. We went through a few processes with different people, and then we ended up selling to some great people.
Yeah. Yeah. And LiveRecover is such a cool solution as well. Like most SMS is, like giving the brands the power to send out SMS messages, whereas you guys were leveraging SMS to, convert orders.
Right. Having conversations with people in real time was all we were focused on. And I think now, and we weren't the only app doing it. There was, Tone messaging out there, which got acquired by Attentive. There was LiveRecover, which got acquired. There was probably one, maybe two others that I'm not aware of the names. And then now, because those companies kind of survived while these other ones were raising so much, they either all got scooped up and or that approach got adopted by the bigger brands because they realize, oh, why are these little apps taking our customers and all they're doing is like one specific thing, but they're doing it very well. This is probably something that we should all be doing, right? So now I think if you're coming into the space just offering that, you might, need to catch up to some like feature parity to all the competitors.
Yeah. I mean, that's, the advantage of being an early adopter in a space is like you kind of build that moat a little bit and you just raise the bar. But, you've shifted. You're still in e-commerce.
Always.
Is that the thing? What do you like about e-commerce?
I mean, I got into e-commerce during MySpace, which was like 2008. Since then till now, it's just been something that I understood, right? Selling things online. But then there's so many aspects to it. Building the sales funnel. There's creatives. There's advertising knowledge of every platform and channel. And then there's the tools, optimization from the conversion rate side of things. And so I think after doing my own e-commerce stores from 2009 till 2017, it's just, doing the apps is like kind of the next natural evolution. If you like software and you think, I want to build something one time to some degree and then sell it forever. I mean, obviously you iterate on the product, but with e-commerce, and as you know, like there's inventory issues, there's supply chain delays, there's costs, there's quality checks, there's insurance for these products, there's potential, there's so many moving parts. And with SaaS, it's specifically for e-commerce. If you know the e-commerce ecosystem and how to be a brand, servicing brands becomes a little bit easier. So I think it's more fun to be someone who helps other brands make money because I can't make 25 brands, but I can make one piece of software that powers hundreds or thousands of brands.
Are you a tech guy, a developer? Or
I'm not a developer, no.
So you had a co-founder, you said?
I had a co-founder in LiveRecover.
Who is technical? Or
he's super technical.
Okay.
He's like a wizard. And then I know enough now after spending, lots of money getting dicked around by engineers who are like, oh, just another week. Oh, just another couple grand. And that ends up being like, whoa, I spent $30,000 and I don't even know really what was done because you don't know how to audit the work. So I actually spent a bit of time trying to get into the weeds of it, taking coding classes, online tutorials, building clones of Twitter, a clone of Airbnb, a clone of Reddit. So now I know enough to like go through GitHub or read a deploy. I know how many lines have changed, what the notes are, and how to read all that stuff and how to do those things myself, right? So I know a little bit more. I'm not going to get screwed around, but I wouldn't tell anybody that I'm an engineer. But I know enough that if you told me you did a bunch of work and I checked your work, I could tell you I could write 4 lines of code in a week, right? Call it in an hour or even 10 minutes. So don't tell me that this is 40 hours of billable work.
Right. I've enjoyed, so Dennis Kunze Cuts in Capitalism here in Austin. Which
shout out Beard Brand.
Yeah. It's a super secret networking event kind of for impressive people like Dennis. So if you're ever in
Austin,
if
you have a beard
or
hair.
Beard or hair, or if you need a haircut at the barbershop. And it was funny because I would talk to you and I'm like, yeah, man, congrats on selling LiveRecover. What's next? And you're like, no, I'm just going to chill and, drive my Lambos. And
full disclosure, I do not have a Lambo.
Yeah. That's the joke. And, and then like the next month you come by and he's like, oh, I bought a company. I was like, oh, what happened to chilling, man? Like, talk about the process of finding OrderBump, how you found it, how you negotiated that deal, and what you're looking for, and just walk me through all that.
Yeah, so LiveRecover sale closed. We had some time with the team and still, advising them when needed. But after our time was, allocated and sort of transition out of the business, I took like maybe this summer to focus on like cross country running a little more, and then after that, I'm like, okay, I'm bored. I need to like get back into something. And instead of starting something from scratch, all my friends are like, hey, take some of the money from your exit and put it in real estate. And I'm like, I don't really know anything about real estate. I own my house that I live in and that's it. And so I figured when I did the math, I'm like, I think I could buy a software company that's smaller, make better returns, and I can have an impact on that business more than I can't grow the real estate market in Austin. I can tell some friends to move and how it's cool on Twitter and whatever, but realistically, I have no influence over what happens to the value of my house. And so other than taking care of it. And so,
and it's not like you have a network of general contractors.
No, I have a builder who helps like with my stuff, but that's just for like fixing stuff that breaks. It's not like me being like, I don't know anything about building anything with my hands aside from IKEA furniture. And so, so I think with OrderBump, I had known the previous owners through social media, and they have a development agency called the Van Group. The founder or the co-founder, Xavier, we became friends. They had sent some customers to LiveRecover, but he had an agency, and his focus was, and is his agency, but they had built OrderBump as a one-click upsell app, but primarily focused on Shopify Plus merchants. And then over time, I started having some more conversations, and I was poking around with him and said, hey, like, would you be interested in selling this? Because I know you focus primarily on, let's just say the amount of, the budget for a website is probably 2 or 3 websites is probably more than the app is making per year, right? And so, and they do many, many websites a year for brands. So it made sense that they had this app, but they weren't going to become a SaaS business. They're an agency focused on building amazing websites for brands. So for me, I said, hey, I'd love to buy it off you and give it some of the nurturing it deserves. And they were interested. They're like, oh, yeah, I think that would make sense. And we think that you might be the right person for that. And so after 6 months of kind of back and forth and some quiet time and, readjusting of like expectations on price and multiple and things like that, we landed at a deal that was fair for both of us.
Yeah. So is it orderbump.com?
It's orderbump.io.
Okay.
Oh, no .com, I wish.
Yeah. Orderbump.io. It's probably like one of the coolest looking websites.
It's a little too cool. I mean, I shout out, I think it's cool, but like because of the previous owners, they were very focused on brand. They designed for designers, in my opinion, which is great. It looks cool. But at the end of the day, like a merchant, all you really need to do is like clearly define what your offering is, make it easy to read it all, and then like get me to install it. I think if I'm getting lost in animations that are jumping up and down and widgets that are pulsating and moving and stuff, that I'm like, whoa, this looks cool, but wait, what was I reading again?
Yeah.
Again, I haven't changed it yet, but if I do...
So go now. I'll go now before Dennis changes it.
It's black and yellow, and it looks pretty cool.
It looks super dope. Super dope. And I guess I'm a designer at heart, so that's why I'm kind of drawn to it. It's just not like something you typically see from a SaaS company.
No, it looks like a direct-to-consumer brands website.
Yeah. So are you, did you bring your partner back in with this, or are you solo on this?
Yeah, so him and I are working on something else outside of Shopify, but he's not doing anything in the Shopify ecosystem. So this OrderBump stuff is just me as the owner, but I have another engineer who came on board. Okay. And then we have a customer service rep, but it's just those 3.
Did he make the hire to run the dev?
Yeah, so there was no team acquired. It was just like it's called an asset sale. So I didn't acquire anything but the software and the revenue and the customers, yeah.
Now, how is that? I mean, I don't know how your previous relationship was, but like how is it running a business as the solo founder versus in it with somebody else?
With the old one, I think I had like someone who could tell me that I was wrong, which I needed a lot of the time. And right now I think I know everything. And so the person who I'm paying is not going to tell me that I'm wrong.
Yeah, they don't want to lose their job.
Not that I would be upset if someone, I actually like it when people tell me that I'm wrong, because I'm learning more. But I think also the engineer that I've hired, while he's amazing, my previous co-founder knew more, or as much, if not more, than I did about e-commerce to some degree, because he had done a ton of it himself. And the person that I have now on OrderBump versus LiveRecover, he didn't have any e-commerce experience himself. He had built a Shopify app before, but for me, I think I'm exposing him to sort of like more of the business side of things and being very transparent, while he's kind of just, taking my development tasks and sort of chugging along on them. Whereas my previous co-founder might say like, hey, I don't think we should do that, or we should prioritize features based on whatever, right? This guy right now is just, okay, I'm working on it. Right?
Yeah.
So, which is fine.
Yeah. What do you think will be the results of that? Do you think the company will be hindered or held back?
I mean, maybe this is coming from my own ego, but like, I think I know what I'm talking about. And I talk to the customers that we have. It's not like the feedback is just pulled out of thin air. So if I talk to enough customers, get enough feedback on what we can do to improve, make the app better. I reached out to old customers, asked why they left, what can we do to bring you back? And this is no different than DTC, right? If you're in a subscription business, SaaS is the same thing, but it's with software. So yeah, once you ask 25 people why they left and what you could do to bring them back, and if they tell you, you just go build those things.
Yeah.
Obviously, some of those things you might be building for a handful of merchants, but if they were a customer, then you're at least building them for someone who has like you at consideration to come back.
So for our listeners who aren't familiar with OrderBump, what the hell does it do?
It does upsells, which, I mean, if you're listening, I imagine you know what an upsell is because you do e-commerce. But if you don't, it would be the same thing as if you're like in the aisle at the grocery store and you throw something in your basket at the end because it's at the checkout. So
it targets impulse purchases, but
at
the very end of the process.
But more like targeted recommended products, not like, hey, you're buying a pair of shoes. Would you like to, buy some candy? It's like,
right, here's some laces.
Right, here's some laces or some socks or maybe even a discount on another pair of shoes. All, controlled by the merchant, and or you can, if you have a lot of SKUs, right? So you have 100 or 1,000 SKUs, you might not know what dress pairs best with another dress. Maybe Shopify knows that, right? And so OrderBump, we lean into Shopify. That's something called the Recommendations API, which Shopify knows anonymously, like who you and I are across all the brands we've shopped on Shopify on their backend, right? I don't even know off the top of my head. It could be hundreds of brands that I've shopped for. So if I visit a new store, say even Beard Brand, because you guys have a decent amount of SKUs, at least the last time I checked, right? At least like 20, 30, 50. So if I was
50.
Okay, so if I was going to go and I pick a SKU, Shopify might be better at recommending what other SKU to buy than you just assuming that you know. Not to say that you don't know, but Shopify has an optionality to say, hey, anonymously, we think we know what Dennis buys like globally across Shopify.
Is that only on Plus, or is that?
Any app can lean into that API. So,
but that's not something that is native out of the box for Shopify.
No. It's so that would be why you would use like a tool like us or I don't want to name a competitor, but I will, like Rebuy or someone else like us, Rebuy, a handful of other people that we're doing, recommendation engines. Some are custom and some are based on just Shopify. We're not trying to become a AI company. We're just trying to make it really easy to do upsells.
Yeah. How does it work if, let's say there's 3 products in the cart, and I assume there's only one product recommendation, right?
There can be multiple product recommendations, but it depends on the stage. So there's like something called a pre-purchase upsell, which would be in the checkout when you're putting in your card and your name, your contact info. And then after you pay and hit thank you, you're redirected generally to a thank you page. But between the thank you page and hitting thank you, submitting the order, you get redirected to something called a post-purchase upsell page, which is essentially like a page in between hitting I want this and here's your order number. And so within that page, you have about 5 minutes until Shopify, it's your credit card information essentially is like held in escrow for like 5 minutes. And then during that 5 minutes, which is while you're on that page, you could add things to the order. And then you don't have to put your credit card information in again. But so that could be 2 steps. You might have one upsell, you might have a downsell.
Yeah.
There's only one product on that step for the
downsell.
A downsell could be, an example would be you have a pair of shoes in your checkout. You don't do an in-checkout upsell for whatever reason. You're only doing post-purchase. So you have shoes, you buy the shoes, you put your credit card in, you bought them. But then the first offer is an upsell that says, hey, would you like to buy a pair of socks for like 30% off of $19.99 or $9.99? The customer says, no. Okay. Would you like to get a pair of laces for 50% off instead as a second offer? That would be the downsell.
Okay.
If someone said
it's
yes,
still an upsell.
It's an upsell, just called something else.
Okay.
Right? You could have it. So if the person says, yes, I want this item, well, then show me another item that's the same. If they say no, show me a different item. Because if you said no to socks, then I'm not going to offer you socks again at a deeper discount. I might offer you something else like laces.
Yeah.
But if you said yes to socks at 30% off, maybe I'll sell you another pair of socks at 50% off for the second step in the second upsell.
How many offers are typically happening in this 5-minute period?
There's the max with Shopify is 2. So you can't do more than 2. Some brands will just do 1, right? Like it depends on the brand. If you're offering an in-checkout upsell, you're also doing one on the post-purchase page, and you're doing 2, well, you're giving like a lot of upsell touch points, and you might have even done an upsell in the cart page, which we don't offer, but other apps do. And so at this point, you're like, I offered an upsell in the cart, I offered an upsell in the checkout, I offered an upsell post-purchase. That could have been 2 steps. And then there's even thank you page upsells, which we don't do. It's technically not called a one-click upsell, because if you add something to your, cart after you're on the thank you page, you have to resubmit your credit card information. It's not held in that sort of 5-minute pending escrow environment like the post-purchase upsell is. They're treated differently.
If they bounce in this stage, you still collect the order though, right?
Because it's paid.
Yeah.
So if they say no twice, like if they said no to the first upsell and no to the second upsell, then nothing's changed on their order.
Right. Or if they just like close the window or something like that.
Or if they close the window.
they'll still get their confirmation email.
Yep. If they close it, then they just get their order email.
What are some of your clients who are optimizing it the best? Like the best successes that you're seeing, how are they running it?
A lot of them are doing, the main, I think, value proposition for OrderBump is the in-checkout upsells, just because it's a feature that's specific to Shopify Plus merchants. If you don't have Shopify Plus, you can't control the JavaScript at the checkout. I don't want to get too technical for people who don't know what that is, but basically you can't modify the checkout unless you're on Shopify Plus. If you're on Shopify Plus, then we can inject upsells into your checkout, which is potentially probably the best place to do it. And then post-purchase, there are other apps that have been around that have solved for this too. So we added that because we needed it, not because we thought we were going to be the best,
right.
But we just felt like, well, we'll be just as good and our pricing will be better. And hopefully our support is as good or better.
So for clarification, for people who are familiar with the Shopify platform, it's the stage where on the right, you see all the products, and this is where you put in your shop pay or your credit card number or...
Yep. So there's actually two placements on desktop. One is above where you would see the payment methods like
right.
PayPal, Shop Pay, Apple Pay, and whatnot. And then there's a sidebar placement, which is the product details, essentially what's in your cart.
Yeah.
But when you're on mobile, it's just all condensed into one, and mobile is like 90% of the traffic. We have the optionality now, so you can control where it's injected. You want to show it at the top placement or the sidebar placement, but if you're on mobile, it's going to be in the same spot anyway.
Yeah. On desktop, are you seeing one performing better than the other?
No, I'm not looking at enough merchants to say like, hey, we just rolled out.
Can you do both as well?
You can do both on desktop, but we haven't made that an option, because if you're injecting both on desktop and then it's mobile, are you trying to show two on mobile?
Yeah,
because
okay.
it's going to only show one anyway. And I think for like compatibility, we probably wouldn't allow two. We could on desktop, but I don't know why. I don't think it would make sense.
And do they always come with like a discount? Is that the best call to action on it?
It's up to the brand. You could discount the in-checkout offer. You could even give away a free product, right? So if you're giving, and this is something that we're working towards now, which is like a funnel. So if you have a $100 item, maybe that's considered higher price point and a little bit higher consideration than if you're buying something that's $20, $20, $30, more of an impulse product that the Facebook ad was just so good that you had to buy it. But if you're spending $100 on a pair of shoes, and I keep going back to shoes just because it's easy, but $100 pair of shoes and you're in the checkout, naturally right now some brands might say, hey, we're not a discount-centric brand, so we don't want to offer any discount on our $100 shoes. Okay, that's fine. So if you offer a second pair of shoes in the checkout as a, quote, upsell offer, but there's no discount, like the probability of somebody taking that is a lot lower. But if you gave away a free pair of laces in the checkout, hey, you're already here buying, why don't you just click here to add a free pair of laces? Well, now maybe the conversion rate actually goes up because they were thinking about buying, they saw that the shipping was $7.99, or they forgot that their sales tax included, and they're like, oh, I wanted to spend $99 on shoes, but now it's $117.
Right.
Oh, well, I can just click here and get a free pair of socks or a free pair of shoes, or let's just use laces, right? You get the free pair of laces, and then on the post-purchase page, you upsell a pair of socks at full price or a discounted pair for the socks, and then you sell a second pair of laces as a discount on step 2 of the upsell.
Yeah.
Right. So there's ways to test, but then there are also brands who are say, hey, we'll 50% discount everything in the pre-checkout because we know we have an impulse product.
Bump that AOV.
Yeah. And so it really depends on the brand, but we're seeing, brands testing all those things. But to your question, no, you don't have to discount what's in the checkout. It would just depend on your brand, right?
Yeah. Right now we're running a promo. If you spend $75, you get a free pair of tweezers. And I don't even know the technology we're using to kit that together, if it automatically populates or if it's something that...
Are you guys on Shopify Plus?
Yes.
So I think there's something called script tags where you can create automatically discount an order that gets added to the order based on the conditions of what's in the cart. And if you guys have an in-house developer, they may have set that up for you guys.
Yeah. And I wonder if it makes sense to have people add it, because there's just that
That's actually a huge part of it, is the psychological, looking at yourself adding something and seeing it change is huge. If you auto apply a discount versus let somebody have a code to put it in, there's something rewarding about typing in a code and seeing the price go down. If I just click on a link and the price is already adjusted, it doesn't feel like I got a discount.
Yeah.
I didn't see it change, right? I mean, even though you can see the line item, oh, I see that it was discounted by $3, but you might even auto click a link that applies a discount and then type in a discount and remove it, and then be confused that the price went up because you're so used to typing in codes to redeem them.
Well, not only that, I think because we would auto add the product if they hit the minimum. And then sometimes I wonder, if they didn't know that was a promo going on and then all of a sudden they have tweezers in their cart, and they're like,
Oh,
I don't
shit,
want
I
these
didn't want these
tweezers.
tweezers,
Yeah, I
right?
don't want these tweezers. Why are they in my cart? I'm gonna, remove
Right.
them.
Am I being charged for them?
Yeah, am I being charged for
Even
it?
though it says $0. I mean, you can't expect everyone to like read the fine details.
Oh
so.
no, like I don't read anything. I'm just like click,
Yeah,
click,
here's
click.
my credit card information. Send me stuff.
So I think it's, those are all the things that you got to think about as you're kind of like working on your conversion optimization and the buyer flow and how you might be able to
Yep.
offer an experience. What is the vision for OrderBump? Like, where are you going to take it? How are you going to grow it?
I bought it. We closed in November of 2021, so it's only been not even 10 weeks, 9 weeks, which I don't advise buying anything during the Q4, the last 2 months, because most brands are on a tech freeze, meaning they don't want to install new apps. They don't want to change anything because they have so much traffic and ad spend and buyer intent. So now we're getting, we've seen some good growth, like 20% growth in revenue since we bought it. No ad spend, just kind of shit posting on Twitter and talking in Facebook groups and things like that. But the plan is just to build out the product a bit more. I don't think that upsell as a category is like, the opportunity is not like email, right? We're not going to go build the next Klaviyo or something worth billions of dollars or even hundreds of millions of dollars. So I think knowing that, I don't have as much pressure and I don't have any investors or anybody to deal with. So if I want to wake up and do nothing, that's what I'm going to do. But if I feel great about it, right? Like I'm here talking to you about it because I'm excited. But I think, yeah, just building a product that everyone kind of agrees is on par with being one of the top considerable apps or apps for consideration, and then growing to be $1 million a year in recurring revenue business. After that, I would feel like mission accomplished, at least for this project. And then I don't want to work on it for years by any means. I would love to hire someone, a he or a she, who's like really eager to run a SaaS business, or maybe has launched a Shopify app but didn't maybe get to where they wanted to be, and they want to like learn the ropes, but they're willing to not work for cheap, but they're willing to like be a little bit more available, give them some equity, and then step back and kind of like, collect some of the benefits. I think that sounds really nice. And I know that's what like Justin Mayers from Kettle on Fire does.
Yeah.
I listened to his podcast with Sam Parr, and he was talking about how he like basically just does all the hard work and then puts a team in place and then steps back and doesn't do anything until there's an exit. I'm like, that sounds fun.
Yeah, Noah did that with Eamon of AppSumo. And
I think he left recently, right?
yeah, so Eamon's moved on to, I think he's doing consulting. He was on the podcast as well, the e-commerce conversation. So if you go back, you can listen to him. But it was kind of the same thing. Like Noah had built this, I don't know the numbers, I'm just making up the numbers, but like $1 million AppSumo, and he thought that was kind of where it could go. And then Eamon came in as this young guy who's hungry he thought there's opportunity in there. And Noah's just like, all right, cool. You do with it what you want. And then he grows it to like $80 million.
Don't sink my ship, please.
Yeah.
Keep the checks coming.
Grows it to 80 million, and it eventually becomes a marketplace. And it's just, when you hire, for anyone listening who's not in e-commerce now, I would almost say with 100% certainty that every e-commerce owner, and even like every almost business owner, is looking for people who are hungry and smart and talented, who want to learn and want to take responsibility for decisions.
It's hard to trust people, but that's what everyone wants.
Yeah.
It's just hard to get there. And a lot of people want you to tell them what to do,
Exactly.
which you want to help guide them.
Right.
But I think the disconnect is like a lot of people don't take that first initial step to make themselves known that they are taking that first step. It's like, hey, I would love to work for your brand. What can I do? It's like, what? I don't know what you can do for me. Why don't you show me what you can do for me? I have no idea.
Yeah, come in and be like, hey, Eric.
Hey, you're doing all these 3 things wrong, and I'd love to fix them for you. And then if you like the results, then you can pay me. Dude, you're hired.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. If you're applying for a job, just be like, I went to your website. This was wrong. You're not doing this. This could be improved. I'm going to roll this out in this kind of time frame. And, here's the value it's going to bring to your company. And
I know we don't want to say too much, because there are people who, and I agree that like, don't work for free. Like that's anti, you should get paid, like Twitter. You should get paid to do your interviews. It's not what I'm saying. Like, don't have to work for free, but if you really want a job and you are looking for an opportunity, like make it, catch that person's attention. And if you do something doesn't have to wow them, but even just taking that like first like ambitious step to reach out with actionable suggestions, I think goes a long way.
yeah.
And I'd imagine that you have just as many, if not more, than I do. But I have tons of DMs from people who I'd love to help, but I'm like, there's 20 DMs a day. Hey, how do I start a Shopify app? Hey, I have this idea that we should do together. What do you think about building this for me? And I'm like, what? I don't care about any of this. Like, but if you said, hey, I love your OrderBump, but here are all the things that are broken on the website, or here's like some keyword research I did on how you could acquire customers, or here's even a referral or two. I'd love to get on the phone to see like, how I could scale this up for you. Like, she's going to get a call and potentially a job. And I would love to give you more work because I want to do less. But right now I'm doing a lot because I don't trust enough people to do it for me. And I like doing it, but the goal is, I only have 2 hands. So there's only so much you can do.
Finding people who are willing to give you advice that it's very likely that you're going to say that's a dumb idea. Yet you still persevere. You still, kind of stand by your convictions. You still like suggest those things. Because I think a lot of times someone may do it once, right? Be like, hey, we should do this and this. And you'll be like, no, I've tried that before and I haven't had success. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, I made my one suggestion. They didn't like it. They're not going to like anything else. So it's like, you have to have that. It's really an entrepreneurial trait.
For sure. I mean, I take no for an answer to some degree, but sometimes, like I don't to some degree too, right? Like if I want to get in touch with someone and they don't respond to you, I'm not going to spam your email or spam your DMs, but I'll be conscious about following up every 2 months or every however long, and then politely ask for a response or something, or give me feedback.
Or build relationships with people who know you.
Right.
Or like,
sorry you ignored me, but I just came through your best friend's sister.
Yeah. One day I'm going to be on the Joe Rogan show, and it's like all the people, all the relationships I'm building, like,
Are you trying to be on the Joe Rogan show, or do you want to be?
You got a connection. I'm not going to turn down being on the Joe Rogan show.
Does he have a beard? I guess sometimes.
Well, he's a man, so we seldom in. So
I know he doesn't have that much hair, but Joe Rogan, if you're listening, if anybody's listening,
I'm sure Eric Joe Rogan's not listening to e-commerce conversations, but
you never know.
Maybe one of his buddies.
He was involved with On It. Not saying he'd be listening, but
yeah. Well, they sold On It too.
Must be nice.
It was like 50 million, 100 million, something like that. But that guy's just like the golden goose right now. So where can people contact you? Where can people find you? Where can they order bump themselves up?
OrderBump.io, and then just Dennis Hegstad on Twitter, or probably responding to your favorite shit posts. That's pretty much what I do. I use Twitter a lot. I mean,
Twitter's great. Yeah. I don't think there's a e-commerce conversations where I don't bring up the amazing direct-to-consumer e-commerce space on Twitter. I think it's just a really good community. A lot of people who are your
favorite people to follow on Twitter right now for e-commerce?
Patrick, of course.
From Supply?
Yeah, I brought him on the show.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah. And then, Alan I like a lot.
Alan Walton. Guy?
Yeah, Spy Guy. And then Moise.
Moise Ali from Native.
Yeah.
I like that he has bold stances, even if I disagree with some. But I think that's the whole point, is like he believes what he believes. And it's like, you're not going to change my mind.
Yeah.
Or if you have a good case on why you should, I'll listen.
Pretty much anyone who's been on the e-commerce conversation show has a Twitter audience, Taylor Offer.
Oh, yeah. Shout out Taylor.
Yeah. Will with Chisos. He doesn't post anything on Twitter, but in the DMs, we'll chat as well. So, yeah, there's a bunch. So just look at the past e-commerce conversations, and you'll see that the good tweeters out there. Jamie Schmidt with...
What do you think about Yellowstone, the TV show?
I haven't watched it.
Oh, my God. You have to. They also have an e-commerce site, so I just bought some Yellowstone merch, and it's powered by Shopify, so pretty excited.
We'll have to segue that to Twitter. So we'll take that to Twitter. Follow Dennis, add OrderBump to your e-commerce show. Hope you guys enjoy the conversation. Cheers, and keep on growing.
See ya.